Good evening, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the mental house. Whatever side of the diaspora that you may be on, welcome. I'm your host, Khadija. You know, there's a lot of talk going on right now about the Tupac movie. I haven't seen it yet. Um, and I don't know if I will, uh, because that was a time in history that it's very extremely painful for more reasons than not. Um, as most of y'all know, as a hired hand, I am a studio musician, and I'm very open-minded about music. I think that's what keeps me young. It's what keeps me vibrant. The fact that I am a musician, and now I'm a studio musician, and I work with a lot of people. And so all that's unimportant at this time. I just wanted to share a great Tupac story, a personal Tupac story that is really kind of bittersweet. So again, I haven't saw the movie because it is a painful time, but I could also think of something that I remember that led me to believe on this night uh, that the end for Tupac would be just as it was. I do believe in karma, and sometimes you can will things in your direction. And when I thought about the genius of Pac and what was only able to be expressed, when I think about those two you know, contrary things, I feel real bad because he was such a genius. And not only that, having a affinity for a mother lets me know that he knew exactly um, the struggle of his people. He was very conscious, and to see him, he's a Gemini. So to be so conflicted like that, it was only just him walking in his authority, actually walking in what he was, which is a true Gemini. But songs like Brenda's Got a Baby, um, I can't think of that song. Keep Your Head Up. I like that song because you can hear the background. Ooh, child, things are gonna keep your head up. I thought that was a really, really positive, uplifting anthem for the neighborhoods. But one of my favorite all-time Tupac songs, besides California Love, of course, um, was the way he did that tune that Bruce Hornsby and the Range has. And I think it's That's Just the Way It Is. Things will never be the same. Ugh. Every time I hear that, I still get a lump in my throat because it just exemplified the genius of Tupac. That was the genius of the man right there. And like I said, I cannot hear that song right now without getting a lump in my throat and crying for the accuracy and the pain and the real shit that he kicked with that song. So as y'all know, again, as the funky grandmama, I get it in. But what bothered me is that, again, my personal Tupac story was I was looking forward to hearing these tunes. And he was coming to Milwaukee, and I think it was at the auditorium or the Mecca, whatever they called it at that time. And this was my first and only time of meeting Tupac. And it was under very terrible circumstances. A friend of mine, I remember we had tickets. Well, we had passes, is what I should say, because we were backstage. And she worked at the one of the local stations here, and so I was just really anxious. I knew it would be a younger crowd, so that's why I didn't want to be in the audience. But I really, really wanted to just see him up close. I'd heard a lot of stuff about him, but I just wanted to see how he vibed. And again, there was a lot of other acts on that program as well. I think Escape was even on there. Um, I can't remember, but a couple other groups were on there. Tupac was the headline, and all I can remember is he did a couple tunes, and then there was a lot of talking back and forth because, of course, it's real loud. And I was backstage talking to other people at the same time, listening to him but I think it was a problem with the sound, and he got very frustrated. And with that being said, he finally got a mic, and he began to talk about killing of kids, which is um, which is deep, uh, and it addresses what we talk about self responsibility. And because some children had been killed, he took that time on the stage to actually go off about it. And all I remember, not verbatim of what he said, but I remember people throwing stuff, and I remember him running off the stage. I remember being a chaos and just actually horrible. There were people running over to the Hyatt, which was across the street, so I don't know if they chased him over there or, and it got really crazy because he began to call the people, country bumpkins and, whatnot. But I was looking for an article or something that would reminisce me of that night because, that's something that nobody ever talks about. And so somebody from the staff of the Journal wrote an article about that night, and I'm going to share it with you guys right now. And this is my personal Tupac Shakur story. It was September 3rd, 1994, at the Mecca Arena in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A concert took place that included Boss, Big Mike, Escape, Spice One, and more, including the headline act, Mr. Tupac Shakur. After all the acts had done their thing, which included an appearance of MC8 with Spice One, which really got the crowd pumped, it was time for Tupac to come on and do his thing. And the crowd was ready, or were they? To the roar of Tupac, Tupac, and Thug Life, he hit the stage with vengeance, opening with a track called Bury Me a G from the new Thug Life album. But he seemed like a man out of control. Midway through the song, his mic started fading in and out. And while Thug Life were doing their verses, Tupac was running around trying to get his mic to work. Yeah, absolutely. Finally, he got the working mic, and all hell broke loose in Milwaukee. Halfway through the second song, Pac stopped the show for a moment of silence for the 14-year-old girl killed in Chicago by an 11-year-old boy, who later was killed himself. But before the silence, Tupac began by yelling out, "You better stop killing these babies, or I'll murder you myself." As I sat with my camera in one hand wondering, where did this come from? But I didn't have time to think about it for long. Tupac was now yelling, "I taught you all about harming these babies. I taught you all about harming those babies. Keep it up and I'll murder you motherfuckers with loan myself." I sat with my camera going, oh my God. With that, I started looking around the arena to see if anyone else was as shocked as I was. Then I started thinking that it must have been a skit, some part of an act. But then I looked into his eyes and I saw, because I was very close to the stage, and I realized that this wasn't a skit, but that Pac was dead serious. Before he could get to the next song, the audience started throwing coins at Tupac. He wasn't going to take them and take that shit. No way. I don't know who the fuck you all think I am, you motherfuckers. You better stop throwing shit at me. Then he offered a $200 reward for anyone to bring an offender to him on the stage and said, he will get you paid, but he will die tonight. Again, I was shocked. Where was this all coming from? Did a coin tossing incident cause the violent reaction? But what came next was even more worse. People in the audience started throwing up gang signs at Tupac and taunting him. That did it. You can flash them gang signs if you want, screamed Tupac. I'll kill all you motherfuckers. This is thug life. Then he invited people to come on stage and try to kick my ass. Thug Life rushed the stage to be with Pac, and I started thinking that this looked like a scene from a West Side Story. When I thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. A shouting match occurred with a guy in the front pit, just where I was sitting, and then a member of Thug Life just kept at it. Suddenly, a guy threw a cassette and a bottle where the water bottle accidentally hurled at him just missed him. I started thinking, what the fuck is going on? What this looked like as an arena, and the Mecca security had to guide the people out so they wouldn't get trampled. It was absolutely anarchy. I was glad to be cut out of there safely, but I felt that I had to find out what happened. Later, I interviewed the chief security, Delroy Roberts, who told me that police had to kick in Tupac's dressing room door. They made everyone kneel with their hands behind their heads as they were searching the dressing rooms. They found 2 semi-automatic weapons. No one admitted knowing about the guns. So, as I was leaving, people who had been in the audience were saying, what's wrong with him? Why he snapped? We all could have been killed. And we could have. I was shocked, and I was also saddened. Why did this happen? I had just witnessed another chapter in the troubled life of Mr. Tupac Amaru Shakur. That was the end of the story when I wrote about this incident. Now we know the answer to my final question. It ended badly and sadly. Personally, I love Tupac. Having once met him in Chicago, I found him to be such a pleasant and a cooperative young man. And as I took photos and interviewed him, I sincerely liked the guy. I also wanted to hear his side of the story about what took place in Milwaukee. But a call or two to his manager's office informed me that the office was no longer representing Mr. Shakur, and that was the last time I would ever see Mr. Shakur. You know, that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to see the movie, because that's my last experience with Tupac, my one and only experience in contact with Mr. Shakur. And I want to just leave it the way it is. I don't really want to see what they put up on the screen, although I commend the writers, and for those that didn't live that time, maybe they need to see. But I don't even know if anybody can get it right. And he was just a special person, and he was just such an enigma. He was so full of contradictions, in my opinion. Because the way he entered that stage and the charming way that he was to meet him. And he had on white pants. And he had on a beaded shirt. But by the time he hit the stage, he'd taken it off. The point I'm trying to make is he was such a mild-mannered, nice individual. And something happened when he hit that stage, and something happened when he heard about that little girl, those kids getting shot in Chicago, that he was overcome with so much emotion and trying to hold black folk accountable for killing our babies. But nobody ever talked about that. So my own personal Tupac story, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. Okay. All right. Like what you hear. Please like
and subscribe.
Bye bye.